Hello friends, it's Kayla. Something that I think I excel at is creating goals and completing them. But that can only happen if I have a plan when I actually make that goal. Otherwise, I make these goal videos at the beginning of the year and then halfway through the year, I realize I didn't do them because I didn't make an action plan. So for 2024, my plan is to do these quarterly check-ins where I spend a week ensuring that I accomplish the goals that I set in my 2024 goals video. I actually listed quite a few things that I don't fully remember, but we're gonna watch it really quick, not the whole thing, but just get an idea of what I said, and then this week, read like 4 to 5 books that tick off all the things that I listed. And then we'll do it again in the summer, we'll do it again in the fall. Hello friends, it's Kayla. I am unwell. I sound unwell. This was 3 months ago. Let's see if I accidentally accomplished any of these things. Oh, first I'm reflecting on the goals that I made the last year, and this is just a little too meta for me. I don't like it. Read 100 books if I feel like it. Definitely on track for that. I read 76. Continue doing the same types of videos that I've done, and even like the same videos that I do year to year, but make them different. I did indeed do that with the book tour favorites. I mixed it up and made it a 4-part series, and I have more plans. My Goodreads video at the end of the year is the one I'm most excited about that I'm switching up a little bit. Keep up with my TBR shelf and continuing to read 1 chapter from every book before I put it on the TBR shelf. I have kept up with that. There is nothing currently on my TBR shelf that I haven't assigned a number to the first chapter, except for my stack of anthologies, which I think is a goal that I'm going to get to in a second. I also have a goal to do smaller TBRs. My goal is usually 5 books. Sometimes I just go off on something else and pick 10 or pick 15, but even the videos where I do 5, I want to knock those to 4. There have been quite a few videos where I have done 5, but there have been multiple vlogs where I did 4 books. To read more weird books, I feel as though I was lacking a little bit last year in just short weird things, so I want to do that more. So of those 3 I just held up, they're weird books that my weird friends recommend to me. I already read Hawk Mountain, which was a 4, and so I think the first book that I'm going to add to this video in this TBR right now is Where I End by Sophie White, because I am excited to get to this one. This is my anthology year. I'm gonna read a ton of short story collections. Okay. I was gonna read, no I am still reading a lot of short story collections. I've read 3 so far, and I didn't love any of them, and I was planning a year-long video where I read a short story every single day, and then I just had way too much going on in my life to consistently vlog. And so I just kind of gave up on it. In mid-February I did that after I finished Out There Screaming. And so the other one that I was going to complete in February was Friday Black, because I love this author. I really like Chain Gang All-Stars, and I've had this for years. I was gonna read Loosed Upon the World for April, kind of to celebrate Earth Day, Earth Month. This is so long, and there isn't an audiobook or anything, so I still want to read this year, and I think it is on my list of 24 and 24, so I have to, but it's not gonna happen in this week, so I'm gonna add this one to this week's TBR. I want to start doing library book hauls. I have been doing that on my TikTok, only to do audiobooks while moving. So like while I'm on a walk, while I'm cleaning the house, while I'm like actively doing something. I have been consistent with that. I think there's a couple times where I was doing an activity like taking pictures, or I've started cross-stitching again, and I listened to an audiobook during that. I don't want to just be sitting. I don't want to be like scrolling through the internet. If I'm sitting and doing nothing else, I want to have a physical book with me, not an audiobook with me. So we will continue that for this week in the vlog. That's not book specific, but I might as well accomplish all of my goals while we're here together. Another goal of mine is to do more written reviews. I don't know if I should say that one out loud, because if I watch this back next year and I failed at it, I'm gonna be upset that I said it. Okay, you're watching it back 3 months later, so everything's still fine. I have written a couple of reviews, not really like lengthy, thoughtful things, but I think when I give a book a 1 or a 5, I want to establish why and not just like put it out there. So I have done a couple. So I've accomplished the goal. Maybe this week I'll write a couple more. I want to do more rereading, because some of the rereads of 2023 were really big wins, and I'm glad that I did them. Okay. I will be rereading The Raven Cycle as usual. I'm going to do it with my channel members in the fall time, like 1 a month for a chunk of time. I don't think I've reread anything just for the joy of it this year. Should I commit to rereading a book this week in this vlog? what would I even choose? More fairy books in 2024 for sure. I have read 3 or 4 fairy books now this year. Feybound was better than the rest. I find it interesting that every time I pick up a fairy book, the main character is never the fairy. It's almost always exclusively the love interest that's the fairy. Since I've already accomplished that goal, I'm not gonna slot that in for the week because I have no idea like what I would even pick. My goal is to continue the TBR jar, like I said. Okay, so my goal is to continue with the monthly TBR jar, and I want to give you a quick update on that actually. I'm going to read Minnow P in this video because it's my pick for April. And I selected things for the intention being April, May, and June. However, I'm moving the June selection to a couple months later because I realized it has a release year that I need to find a 5-star for in my series of finding a 5-star for every year I've been alive. And that final episode isn't going to be until like the end of the series, so like fall time. And I could read Mistborn in that video, and I think that'll be fun to ensure that I do vlog it. And now I've actually replaced the June selection because my members and I have a book club and we had to select our one for the season, and it's actually being voted on right now. And so it looks like the winner's going to be Fantastic Land by Mike Bakovin. What I did was pull a whole bunch of member suggestions in a live show, and so I'm going to consider that one a TBR jar pick and just like replace it. And also, I didn't even realize until I was editing the video that Minnow P, when I heard me say it back, I realized it was Minnow P, like the alphabet, and that's the whole theme of this, is letters like disappearing from the alphabet. My goal is to be more up to date with nonfiction releases. I am always behind on nonfiction. I always pick up such good ones, but I'm almost always reading them after so many people have read and loved them. I have read one 2024 nonfiction. It was called Dinner on Monster Island, and I gave it a 4. It was really good. It was a memoir, a collection of essays, and I haven't picked up like anything else. But I actually do have a folder on my phone because my local indie bookstore posts like new release Tuesday and all the things that they have in store. And so you can see the things that I've been saving all year, and maybe I should pick one of these. So there's one that I saved about like the internet, one I saved about witchcraft, one I saved about the moon, one I saved about climate change and flowers and foxes and beautiful rocks and how to find them. I don't know which one I would be most interested in, but also I think I should pull up like a nonfiction list and see what has come out. I think that's already 5 books that I have slotted in for the vlog once I pick my reread, so hopefully there's not very many more. Oh, okay, I'm just switching to outs. Ignoring my internet friends' invitations to do things together because I've gotten really bad at that lately. I've ignored a couple things. But I've also agreed to a couple things. I've done some things with some people. Okay, the next person, if someone messages me in the next week while I'm vlogging and asks me to do something, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna tell you all about it. Outs are caffeine. I've been caffeine free for 3 months, 4 months. I've now been caffeine free for 7 months. Actually, this week, let's sell my espresso machine. Wearing my contacts for 16 hours a day. This is just something I put on my like overall goals. I have indeed wore my contacts less, put on my glasses more. My eye doctor confirmed I'm doing great. And so you will see me in glasses every day this week. What's also in might be not my hater era, because I've had my hater era. That was like 2019 me. I do think perhaps my like snark era could be coming in hot, because the fact that I haven't given out a 1-star in a year is kind of baffling. And sometimes I find myself cutting out my like critiques that I feel like have gone a little too far in videos, and I'm gonna include them more. I think I'm ready for Hater Kayla to come back just a little bit, and I just feel for the poor soul who gets my first 1-star of the year. I have indeed given out some 1-stars, and I haven't censored myself. I have told you that the books were terribly written. I also think I said at one point that your taste baffles me. Anyway, the last thing that I did in this video is list 24 books that I want to read in 2024. I also posted an Instagram picture. So let's go ahead and check them off. And I can, with this one, like I said, check one off the list. So there are quite a few anthologies on here. I hope I still get to them all, even though I canceled the video project. At this point in the year, I should be at 6 out of these 24. And I am in fact at 17. Granted, a lot of these I just put in this list because I knew I was going to read them earlier in the year, because I had them slotted in for different videos and book clubs. But with this, in this video, we're gonna hit 18. Now let's start out the vlog. Each day I'm gonna have a different book to share with you all, starting with Ella Minnow P by Mark Dunn. All right, I'm already halfway through this book. I have to update you. I just took a thumbnail for my most recent vlog because I realized I didn't take one and I'm supposed to post it tomorrow. I'm gonna make myself a yogurt bowl. The color theme of the day is yellow and orange. Fun, right? I love that I'm wearing this shirt that talks about bees because I got to this section and basically they're living in this like small community island, and there's this like council who makes all the decisions for them. This feels like a kind of commentary on religious influence and political influence and how there shouldn't be a small group of people who are making decisions for everybody. It's also about censorship, and I think related to like book banning. It's saying a lot of underlying things, and it's epistolary, so we're reading these letters between all of these different characters. And one day the island's like belief system revolves around this guy who like impacted the language and is the reason that everyone on this island is like so intelligent and has such high vocabularies, because they just like believe in this guy so much. And he had the alphabet put on these tiles on this building, and one day the X falls off and the council decides that that is the powers that be, this Nevin Nallop guy, telling them they should no longer use the letter X. And so now they're talking about how they have to like remove all the books from the island and rewrite every single book so there's no X's. The music played on the radio is instrumental only because they like don't want to accidentally play something that has an X. You're not allowed to use an X in speaking or writing. And there's like punishments, like people will literally be killed if they're caught using the letter. And then I'm at the point where another letter has fallen off, and some people are like, this is crazy. It's obviously just a really old piece of architecture and it's going to fall apart, and the glue that was used back then just doesn't hold up. But there's people who are so committed to their belief system and what they're being told that they think that this is a message from a higher power. And now Z has just fallen off, and so no one's allowed to use Z's. And there's this character who has a farm. He's a dairy farmer and a beekeeper, Mr. Gregory, and it said, "For the bees speak the offending letter as their wont. They sing it into the hills, our ears ringing with its sonance. Such a perturbing distraction it is to a community attempting to follow a dict with obeisance." I sound stupid reading out loud. When I was reading it just in my head, it sounded perfectly fine. It is full of great vocabulary, but it's not like unfamiliar words or things that you can't understand with context. And so I just think it's funny, the idea that he has all these bees and they're like buzzing around, and like it's like mocking him. Anyway, we're at the point where there are various characters writing letters to each other, being like following the rules as they're supposed to, but talking about how this needs to change and this shouldn't be the ways of things, and like how can we affect this in a positive way. Oh my god, look how good my mango looks. They like just came into season, so I'm excited for lunch, even though I am allergic to mango peel. Here are the things I'm allergic to, just so you can keep up. Penicillin, shrimp, mango peel, and something in peanut butter, but not actually peanuts, but perhaps one of the tree nuts that is like accidentally in there, but we're not sure which one yet. It's not cashews, I know that much. I finished my first book of the video in the week, and I'm gonna give it a 4. I really liked it. I think there's a lot of underlying themes that you can pull, and it's also just fun because it's about like language and letters, and it was entertaining to read. It obviously like has a good message behind it too, and it gets really messy at the end. And I listened to a little bit of the audiobook, and it gets like chaotic. Like the people feel frantic in their letters, and also letters start to disappear from their correspondence. And so listening to it, it reads much more simply than it did before. So the whole idea that they have to dumb down their vocabulary in order to fit in with this like, I don't know, fascist scheme. It's just a really interesting time. Thank you to the channel member who recommended this to me. I feel like I can recommend it easily alongside other epistolary novels if you love those. If you love that bookshop one that I read recently, I think 84 Charing Cross Road is what it's called, and then the Encyclopedia of little blue that I read recently, this would fit in great with those. The only reason it's not a 5 is, I don't know, I don't think it like had the biggest impact on me. It didn't change my life. The characters aren't the most distinct and like interesting to learn about. It's more the gimmick of the book. But overall, I had a really good time. I'm gonna head out on a bike ride and probably listen to the first thing in Friday Black, and then I'll update you tomorrow with like my plan for a reread too, because I need to figure that out. That sounds stressful. I just had my live show for Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers, and now we're gonna go for a bike ride, and I was thinking an audiobook is something that would be fun to listen to. So I need to decide on that reread, and there's just like so much pressure just from myself and for myself to pick the right thing. There are two different ways that I like reread, I guess. One where I just know that I love the story and I want to re-experience it, in which case the audiobook is a really good experience. The other way is pretty much reading physically because I want to really interrogate my own reading of it. I want to go back or go for the first time, depending how I read it the first time, and like highlight the things that I loved, re-experience the moments and take them really slowly that had an impact. And in both cases, a lot of the time I'm trying to figure out if that book is an all-time favorite. I actually have a goal at the end of 2025 to give you a video of my top 10 favorite books of all time, because I've never done it. And I always say things like, this is in my top 10 favorite books of all time. This is in my top 10. This is in my top 5. And I actually want to rank them and figure it out. So now I'm grappling between something that I want to enjoy and something that I think could be in that top 10, and I want to make sure. And in order to figure out that top 10, there's like 20 books that I already know that I have to read, want to read, but have to read. And so I could pick any of those. One of the contenders is Dress Codes for Small Towns, and I just don't know that I'll ever be ready to reread this, because it is my favorite YA general fiction book, and I fear that when I reread it, it won't be a favorite anymore. One that's for some reason coming to mind for me is The Book of the Most Precious Substance, because maybe I read this really quickly. I was also reading it in and amongst a bunch of other book-centric books, and my memories of this maybe muddled like the actual scene-to-scene moments with other bookish books. I just think that this would be so fun, but I don't know that it's the most important reread I need to do. The Pallbearers Club is one that's really hard to resist, but I read this 3 times in the month that I read it the first time. I read it again, and then I read it again. And I already experienced the audiobook, and I loved it. And I do think I need to reread it to solidify it in the top 10. And the fact that this like is even a contender for my top 10, people will think is crazy. I'm also itching to reread My Heart is a Chainsaw for the same reason, but also I'm about to read the 3rd book, and I think it'd be fun to go back to the first one, because I didn't go back to the first one when I read the 2nd one. This is one that's really calling to me because I feel like I forget about it all the time, but Blanca y Roja is something that I recommended recently in a TikTok that I just want to experience it again. But do I really think there will be that many YA books that I feel correct being in my top 10 of all time? Like, do I really need to reread it for that? In the same vein, I always think about rereading We Are the Ants, because again, it was really impactful in its moment, but it's a teen book. And not that I was a teen when I read it, but would these have the same impact reading them like 5 years later? I don't know, like maybe I should just leave them with the experience that I had with them in the moment. Oh God, this was 8 years ago. No idea where I put Dune, but Dune is something I really want to reread. I think I'm gonna wait for the 2nd iteration of this series though, when I'm a little further away from having watched the 2nd movie, so I can like re-experience it and then rewatch it. I don't know the right answer. There is no right answer. This is why I'm not good at mood reading. I think I'm gonna read this one. Is it as good as I remember? That's the question with this one. I did start my book. It was really cold outside. The bike ride was freezing. I can't get warm now, so that's tragic. I'm watching hockey. I just posted a video, and I'm slowly listening to the audiobook. But now that I'm home, I think I'll read it physically, because I don't think I read it physically all the first time. And also, I guess I need to tell you what it's about in case you haven't been watching me for 3 years. I think that's how long it was since I first read it. It's basically about this woman who's a rare book dealer, and she hears about this book that like no one's ever actually seen, and it's a book about sex magic, and is about like the different fluids and things that you can do with them. It's very weird and fun. Like, I love a kind of stupid and sexy occult book. I'm not too far into it, but I'm liking it. And I think that's great because currently my monthly little spread, I don't have anything in the top row. I try to reserve that for 5 stars, but sometimes I have to put 4 stars there. And I get to pop something in the top, which is good for me because I haven't had a lot of 5s this year. I just feel like if you're gonna plan a solar eclipse, at least do it on a day that it's not projected to be cloudy and sad. Like, did you not check the weather forecast first? I can't even see the sun. I've been waiting my whole life for this. Anyway, hello, good morning. I'm gonna finish the Book of Most Precious Substance this morning. I've been reading it on and off since I saw you last. And yeah, the eclipse is about to happen. And then I'm gonna go to the bookstore and buy some books because I think retail therapy is exactly what I need for having to watch the eclipse on social media instead of with my own eyes. And I'm gonna pick up that moon book because today I just need to read about the moon. And I'm living for the funny TikToks that are coming out today. So that's making it okay. Maybe you can look through these. Do you ever have a hair on your face somewhere but you can't figure out where it's coming from? It's actually driving me crazy. It's here somewhere. I just swung by Mosaic. I got my moon book, Our Moon, How Earth's Celestial Companion Transformed the Planet, Guided Evolution, and Made Us Who We Are. Oh my God, I think this is gonna be great. Then I also grabbed No One Dies Yet by Kwame Ben. I was considering this as a book club pick, but there is no audiobook. But I'll still read the first chapter in my upcoming video. I grabbed The Mystery Writer because my library hold isn't going to come in on time for the video that I want to film, where all I'm reading is authors that I've previously given, well, it was supposed to be 5 stars. Hold on. The woman in the library was a 4.5. I mean, that counts, right? Also for that video, I grabbed They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us, finally, by Hanif Abdurraqib. And the last thing I grabbed is for my next video, and I'll be reading this in reading sprints because I indeed did get a message asking if I wanted to join someone's reading sprints. So Bree is having some and a little mini readathon for her patrons this weekend. So I think Friday night we'll be hanging out and reading crime books by Black authors. This one is The Trees by Percival Everett. And I'm also reading this for an upcoming video. So all of my goals I'm ticking off. And then I had a pre-order that I'm also reading for the 5-star video show up right as I was leaving the house, and that's Icarus by Kate Ingram. Very glossy cover. I'm going to be very careful to not refer to this as a 5-star predictions video because that's not what it is. But I do desperately need more 5 stars, and one's about to happen today. I'm so glad this is continuing to go as well as it did the first time. I don't make a habit of watching back my videos ever, so I don't know what I would have said in the vlog where I read this or my wrap up, so I might just be reiterating the same things. But what I'm loving about this is, one, it's a book about books. I love books about books, and even within the book, they're talking about how rare book dealers just love books and they just love talking about books. And she's traveling to all of these different libraries and beautiful places and just talking about books all the time, and that's really fun. Another thing I like is just the explicit nature of this. This is my kind of erotic book because it's not about enjoying the sex scenes, you know what I mean? It's not trying to write them in a way that gives you something as the reader, but it's fun to read because they're so ridiculous. This whole book is so ridiculous, and those scenes trying to gather all of these fluids for this book to give them the occult scenario they're looking for. It's just a wild time. Also, I love books where there's a person who has to decide if their life is worth living, and I think Lily doesn't really acknowledge how depressed she is until she's in a scenario where she has to actually fight for her life and decide that she wants to be alive. I think what some people might not like about this, I mean, there's quite a few things I could pull out actually. One of them is just that Lily is, cheating on her husband in these pages. He has a brain illness and has not spoken for 3 years, and she is his full-time caretaker. He has little to no cognitive ability, and she is just keeping him alive day to day, and that has become her role and her deciding like what she wants out of life outside of her relationship. Though what she's fighting for in finding this book of magic is to change her life and to help her husband. That's her goal. But along the way, she's having a lot of sexual exploits that would not align with your marriage vows. And putting herself into this wacky situation has made her step outside of her regular everyday life, made her feel like valued in a way she hasn't in a long time, wanted in a different way, and she feels a lot of guilt because of that. It's just an interesting journey to be following. I don't think everyone would like agree with what she's up to, but it's also like a book about sex magic, so it's just an interesting time. I'm gonna stop and get some groceries and then head home. Hello, I like it very much, thank you. So happy to be reading this. I need to go to bed. Wish I could have read it all in one day. I'm having a great time. It's nonfiction. I love nonfiction. I'm always forever impressed by people who know how to write things like this in such a compelling way that it doesn't read like an essay. Not that an essay can't be warm and inviting. I don't know how to explain it. She's just packaging things like information you might already know about various cycles, like solar cycles, menstrual cycles, life cycles, and giving you a piece of information you probably already know, but then explaining like not just why that thing is true or untrue, but how people in history came to understand that thing to be true, who discovered a certain thing, who then proved or disproved that thing, and how they did it and why they did it. And it just makes you think about, like, I think sometimes we, maybe me, feel as a society that all of the smart people existed so long ago. Like, how far has humanity come? That the earth has been around for so long, but it's only in the last like 200 years that we really discovered so many things, and technology has advanced so much. But like, there are people right now who are just being born who are going to discover incredible things about the universe. Everything hasn't already been discovered. Everything hasn't already been figured out. And the fact that 100 years ago, there was a fact and everybody took it as a fact related to anything in the universe, and our understanding of that has completely changed now. It's just so crazy to think about how things are moving, and it makes you may have an existential crisis. This might be like a weird thing. Maybe part of me really likes books related to these types of topics because the author always brings in where the planet has been, but also where the planet is going. I feel like I read constantly in books of this nature, like how long the earth is predicted to exist. And I feel comfort in the fact that humanity will not be living on this planet in 2 billion more years. Like, at some point, it's all going to be gone. And there's like evidence to why and how, like perhaps if nothing else happens in the meantime, the moon is moving an inch away from the earth every single year. And like eventually that's going to cause detrimental damage to the planet and any life that's remaining on it. And not that that would be the end of humanity, because there's probably life so many places we don't know. And also we will have, I will not be there, thank goodness. Humanity will likely have traveled other places and will continue life. But I like to think the planet will be gone. Everyone will be gone. It'll be over. And that's kind of beautiful and comforting. Anyway, I'm reading about the moon. Sorry for that. I'm gonna go to bed. Oh, hello! I just finished filming my Wednesday video. It's currently Tuesday, so I'm gonna edit it and then have it all ready for tomorrow. I have a hair appointment early tomorrow morning, and that's why I have my hair straight today, which I absolutely hate. I think it looks terrible. I think it makes me feel like I have a actually, you know, from this angle, like it's cute, but when I'm just filming up here, like, it makes my face look so long, I feel. Actually, maybe I should have just filmed like this, because I filmed with like part of my hair tucked. And anyway, oh my God, shut up, Kayla. Like, that literally doesn't matter. I just realized I don't think that I told you my final thoughts about this, because my rating obviously didn't change and it was just a reread for the fun of it. But I never updated you that I finished it. So I did finish it and I'm giving it 5 stars. And I think it's just like a perfect book. And it was good for me to confirm that I don't actually think that it's in my top 10 favorites of all time. And I'm also trying to figure out if I should split my 10 favorites into like 10 favorite series or 10 favorite books. Because the problem with listing my 10 favorite books is 3 of those 10 would be part of the Raven cycle. And I can't indeed just have one that represents all of them. So I think maybe what I'll do in this video series that I'm planning, like my whole 10 years of reflecting on BookTube, that isn't like happening for a full another year, but you know me, I plan really far ahead. In the video where I'm talking about my top 10 of all time, I think maybe I'll do a whole bunch of top 10 lists. So let me know if there's anything else like book related, like authors, or like should I also do things about like BookTube itself in that top 10 list, like my favorite, some things over the years. Like, you let me know what you would want from that. I have nothing more to say about this other than it's great and strange. And I've been reading a little bit more of the Moon book. I read it on my walk before I washed my hair and filmed my video. And I still think it's really good. We're getting into a lot of like religion stuff and mythology and legends around the moon, which definitely makes sense for the book that it is, but it has lost a little bit of my interest at this point, though it is still interesting objectively. This isn't my favorite section, so I'll let you know my final rating pretty soon here. I'm just waiting for my hair appointment and I finished Our Moon. I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. I just feel like there's something really like special that I can recognize now with a 5-star nonfiction. This didn't quite get there, but it was so good. The best section was chapter 8, The Voyage of Discovery Begins with the Moon. It opened up with the author talking about how she was experiencing the solar eclipse on August 20th, 2017. As was I. We were actually on vacation on the Sunshine Coast when it happened, and we didn't even know it was happening until that day, and everybody in town was like on the ocean, and it was just a really beautiful time. And where is it? She said somewhere in here, like, here's when the next solar eclipse is gonna happen, and she put in the date of this week, and I thought that was fun. And that whole section was about the history of understanding the sun and the moon and the relationship with them, and how, you know, people used to think that we revolved around one thing, different things revolved around other things, some things maybe didn't rotate on their axis, and the people who discovered those things, and the people's names who have been more or less forgotten from history, and their like predictions were attributed to other people who like proved it later. There were so many theories out there, but they didn't become popularized until like just the right person in the right moment was able to like make enough connections. I also learned things like why the study of weather to this day is called meteorology, and just a lot of interesting things in that specific chapter. Then in chapter 10, there was a list of book recommendations, which was fun. It was talking all about science fiction, how science fiction stories reflected have always reflected our current like relationship with space, and how the use of aliens were stand-ins for immigrants and native inhabitants, and that's still like a thing today. But there was this whole list of like book recommendations, like the Broken Earth trilogy, if you want to read something that's like climate driven about migration and segregation, to read Robert Heinlein if you want to read something that's about like citizenship and fascism and how all of these things are related to society and the political atmosphere as it relates to our discoveries about the moon. I really like how later it touched on the government putting all of this money into finding out everything, like taking people to the moon in the space race, and the people who pushed against that, because there are so many people like on the planet we live on who need so much help, but we're putting all of this money into exploring things that, and really like for what reason? There was scientific reasons, but there was also just like ego reasons, wanting to be the first to go to the moon. And I feel like that all the time, especially when you see these space companies who, yes, they're doing great things, and obviously I respect our journey to the moon and our like everything in space and everything that's happening on the planet and all of these advancements, but also like, are we doing a little too much? Like, can we maybe put more money into helping the people of the planet that we actually live on and not trying to explore other things? And I'm sure that's a pretty common feeling. Anyway, hair appointment about to start. I forgot that I was supposed to read a story from Friday Black every day, so I'm gonna take this with me and read like 1 or 2 maybe. So my hair appointment is done. I've been neutralized. I went to the library. Where else did I go? I don't remember, but I only have a couple hours now until Liam gets home, and then we have baseball tryouts, the assessment to figure out like what team everybody goes on this evening, which is gonna be fun. I have now read the first 3 stories in here, and what I can say about the writing is you can definitely tell who this author is, and that it's the same author as Chain Gang All-Stars. Like, there is a feeling to all three of them, even though they were drastically different and drastically different from Chain Gang All-Stars, that there's just an essence here and things that you can tell this author wants to talk about and wants to include. The first story was the Finkelstein Five, and it was about these Black children, siblings, who were killed by this white man, and it followed like the trial of that. Had some like commentary on incarceration and revenge. Our main character also was going through life, learning about what was happening and responding himself, but also associated every day or every event, every time he interacted with people, he gave himself a rating of his own Blackness, how people were perceiving him and how racist everything is. I just love short stories, and getting to read ones from an author after you've read a novel, this happened with Julia Armfield, it's so interesting seeing like how an author builds something and what they care about. And I just got the sense that he wrote this short story and then was like, how can I take this kind of ranking system further into this like larger, really ambitious novel? And I love getting to experience that. There's something really rewarding about reading a short story collection first and getting introduced to an author, realizing you love their writing, and then picking up a novel. But there's also an equally enjoyable moment of feeling like you got to see their first attempts at ideas after having read something more expansive. The second story was not great. I don't really know what the point of it was, but the third one was also like 2 pages, literally 2 pages. The third one was interesting. It was about the idea that in the future people are more biologically engineered and you can like inject yourself with goodness or badness. Anyway, I think I'm gonna continue on with this today. I know I have one more novel to read for the video, but this is what I'll be up to. I don't have any footage from baseball last night because I didn't have my camera. So I think I got a clip of Liam running. Wasn't the most exciting 2 hours of my life, I'll tell you that. I forgot what I was supposed to be reading, and I started reading the Ex Hex. No real reason for this besides I have to give it back to the library in like 2 weeks, and I figured I should read it this month, and I'm having a great time. I'm surprised by the low average rating of this one. I think maybe it was also in the Goodreads Choice Awards, but a lot of people don't like it, so it's a real mixed bag. It feels just like a mix of, I don't know, Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Gilmore Girls and Halloween Town and the Raven Cycle. So I feel like we can still check this off a list of goals. Otherwise, like, I just wouldn't be vlogging today because this is what I'm going to be reading. And I figured, like, let me just slip it in the vlog because I have no other reason to be talking about it anywhere else. But it's about this girl. Well, she's a woman, but she was a girl when she fell in love with this boy. And their names are Vivi and Reese. They live in Graves Glen, Georgia. She works in like a magic-y witch store called Something Wicked, and the witch, there's lots of witches, but they're still kind of secret from society, and they were together, and now it's like 10 years later and they're coming back into contact. He's back in town for reasons, and she kind of put a curse on him when they broke up a long time ago, as I just said the timeline, and now they're both just realizing that he has been cursed and she needs to fix the curse because it's not just impacting him, but a lot of things around her. So they're working together and they have this chemistry, and I think it's great. It's got really like Disney pauses, like every time they're about to kiss or something's about to happen, they get interrupted. But it's also been like descriptive enough that I feel like there's gonna be like an explicit sex scene. So it's like sweet and silly, but also steamy, I think. Anyway, what I'm up to now is I'm gonna go to Sweet Legs because today is our 10th anniversary, and since I've been wearing them for 10 years, I figured I should go in store and support them. Also, like, everything's on sale, so I'm gonna go pick up some more leggings. I don't know what else I might get roped into. I don't need anything. They've like, it really expanded their range, and it's like shirts and dresses and skirts, and there's so much going on. But I think I'm just gonna stick to some more athleisure in my life. I gotta go. Now, you don't come here for fashion hauls, so I'm not gonna disappoint you with how boring this haul is, but it's exactly what I went in there for. I needed more of their athleisure. I got the full length. I got a replacement pair of shorts. Like, nothing's wrong with the ones that I own, and I've owned them for years, but I know the day that something like rips or tears, I'm gonna be like, oh, wish I got them on sale. And then I also got the shorts in one size down, in case in the future that's what I need in my life, because sometimes I find them lately a little bit baggy while I'm walking. Anyway, not the most thrilling outing of my life, but happy I went. I tried on their new romper, which is definitely outside of my comfort zone, but it's very cute for somebody else. And I'll see you back at home. I have finished the Ex Hex. I couldn't put it down. I also went and got groceries, and I officially cleaned my espresso machine, so it is now ready to sell. And I'm gonna buy an air fryer. That's what I'm gonna replace on the counter, because I want one, and I've heard that a lot of them are really loud. So if you have any ones that you would recommend, if you have one that isn't incredibly loud, I've heard that's just like the #1 critique from people about their air fryers, which I wouldn't have even thought of unless I had watched some people talk about them in videos. If you have one you really love, then let me know, because I would love to know. I still have my bookmark in it because I'm about to film another clip for another video talking about this book, but I just finished it and I'm giving it 4 stars. I think it was really silly and fun and the kind of perfect book to get you out of like a slump. It was very light, it was very low stakes. Obviously this curse and the bad things happening to the town are real, but it's not really like top of mind for them. It's the kind of book that I think could bother people when there's something going on that could be detrimental, but the characters are busy like kissing, which honestly is something that I have critiqued about books before, because I think some just don't balance it perfectly. But because this one was already really lighthearted, it felt natural that the characters were just like yearning a lot instead of actually focusing on fixing the curse. But they did fix the curse and everything went well. And they also had a scene where they were locked in a closet together. It was such easy vibes. Like even the moment where they could have like broken up and had this big falling out before they were even officially like together. You know, that moment where people are considering getting back together. This happens in so many second chance books. And one of the characters is like, that was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. Oh my God, what did we do? And then the other character in other books, Butcher and Blackbird, the character goes on a 30-page tailspin immediately after, like, oh my God, I can't believe he thinks this about me. I can't believe I ruined everything. I'm so embarrassed. I have all these feelings and he hates me, which is fine and natural depending on the tone of your book. But in this one, she was like, this was a mistake. We shouldn't have done this. And he was like, was it? Are you sure? It was silly. Everything fit well with the tone. The characters, I think, were good. I can't give it a full 5 because I don't think the banter and chemistry were, like, it was at an 80%, which is good, but it could have pushed it a little bit. There were also a few like really overused phrases and words that was bugging me. And also this is not this character. That is not the character I was reading about. Viv is much more kooky. She is like a mix of Miss Frizzle and that bitch from Me Before You. She's like talking about how she wants to wear her polka dots and her frills and her like wild little silly outfits. I had a good time with it. It was cheesy, and I'm happy to have read it. I am watching hockey, and I'm gonna read a couple stories at intermission each time. That's my plan for the evening. It's a Philadelphia-New York game. I feel like the Rangers have been really entertaining to watch the last little bit, so I have been. They just played Montreal though. Obviously we watched the Montreal game and it was like the most boring game ever. I was really just waiting for somebody to take on Rempe in that game and it never happened. I just finished Lark Street, which is one of the weirdest short stories I've ever read. It was about like communicating with unborn children. I don't know if I should be rating every single one, but moving on to The Hospital Where. We've now switched to the Montreal game, going back and forth. It's definitely better. I'm hot. I changed my tank top. I know you're staring at my toothpaste, but I made dinner. I stood by the oven, the stove, for like an hour, and now I'm hot. I read 3 more things. The Hospital Where was about a hospital where people can fly, kind of. Zimmerland was about this like I don't know, escape room, amusement, strange thing that started to allow children, which was, I gave them both like 3 stars. And then the next one was Friday Black, and it was about Black Friday. How did I not figure that's what it was going to be about? And it's a consumerism story that got dark. I also gave it, I think, a 3. I don't know, I've seen a lot of people loving this collection, and so far it's just been fine. Hello everybody, welcome back to my allergy journey. 2 hours after eating dinner, I'm now itchy everywhere. It's literally starting to be every time I eat something new. Every time I eat something I haven't eaten in years. I can't think of what it is. All I had was Pillsbury, those biscuits. They weren't even that good. Oh, I'm so itchy. People keep telling me to go see an allergist, but like I could just stop eating new things. I could just stick to the things that I eat and I like, and that'd be fine. Because it just feels like a lot of effort trying to find an allergy person, especially when like Reactin and Benadryl works like immediately. But then somebody said that sometimes it can just take like one time and all of a sudden you have like an anaphylactic whatever. I'm annoyed. Let me finish this up. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Be right back. I have finished the book. The best one, my favorite one, was the very final story in here called Through the Flash. There were some stories that connected, that brought like storylines and characters from previous ones. That was cool to see. My arm feels heavy. Good news about my espresso machine. I don't need to sell it actually because my mom's gonna take it. So that's exciting. What else? Okay, so this overall is a collection that's like little dystopian, little satirical, bringing in a lot of important topics and thoughts. There was one story about a school shooting. There was one earlier that I talked about that was about abortion. There's one, I can't remember what it was called. They were working in a warehouse and it was just a little strange. They're all just odd and some sci-fi, some futuristic, but just generally like speculative and a little bit off. The last one especially was just very bleak about kind of like eternal life and how that's not a good thing. There was a lot of really interesting concepts in here and I like what all of the stories had to say. I don't think that I loved many of them. They didn't have this like shock factor that sometimes I'm looking for, but not one of them got under a 3. So overall, I think technically I have to rate it a 3.5. I'm gonna go to bed. And tomorrow is all about where I end, which is where I'm ending the vlog. So how perfect. I had a great time doing reading sprints last night. I'm glad I accepted an invitation to do that. And we were there for like 4 hours. So I'm checking that off the list. I'm not checking off the one where I'm supposed to read less books for a video because I do realize the irony of saying I want to read 4 and for this video somehow I'm reading 6. But I started this afterwards. I actually opened it up in the bath, which was a bad idea because if you know the book starts off with a really just like disgusting bathing scene. This whole book is just like nasty descriptions of this body. We have a main character, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Eileen, and she is taking care of her mother who's referred to as a thing, just like a lump of flesh that is decaying, rotting. The description is very strange and confusing, and she has to like lift her up on this series of pulleys and lift up various parts of her body and scrub and like even sand off like parts of her body that is becoming like there's abscesses and there's just horrific things happening with her body. And I think some books are gross for the sake of being gross and some have something larger to say, and I think this is about her finding like something for herself, something that she cares about, because there's this woman who's new to the island. I don't know if they're gonna be in a relationship or friends, or she's just like opening her up to different possibilities for her life. But it's the kind of book I cannot read in one sitting. Like it's gross. So right now I just read a little bit more and I'm gonna go take my espresso machine to my mom's and show her how to use it. And then when I come back, might grab groceries, might go for a bike ride. When I come back, I will finish the book. Oh, I've just had the most terrible time with this book. What? Why? I feel like physically ill. I'm so uncomfortable. And that was the point of the book. That's what the book wanted to do. And that's why sometimes I don't want to rate books like this, and so I'm not going to. It made me feel similar to the way the Deloriad made me feel, but I had to rate that one because it was a TBR jar pick, and I had to give it a rating in order to decide if the TBR jar was continuing. This was something. It was just very strange, very disturbing, like no plot, just this woman being forced to take care of her mother, and yeah, her mother is just this like other, like the island itself, the whole vibe of the book is just otherworldly. It's all just a little fucking weird. It's all just fucking weird, and oh my god, I don't I don't think I can recommend this to people unless you like the weirder books. Not just you like to read the weird books, because I like to read the weird books. I don't always love the weird books, but I love getting to read them. Does that make any sense to anyone? I like being in on it. I like having feelings when I'm reading. Obviously, I want to be loving a book, and I want to also be disgusted by a book, but it doesn't mean I loved the book. I just loved getting to read the book. Anyway, oh my god, what a way to end it. Another video where I didn't end up with a new 5-star, but I did get to reread this, which was a good time. And I came away with multiple 4 stars and then had experiences with these. Thank you so much for watching. The big takeaway is I have accomplished my goals. I am on track. I'm feeling productive, and now I can get back to some wild and crazy video concepts now that I know that I am on track for all of my goal setting. I hope you are too. Definitely, if you set some goals at the beginning of the year, take a look back now. Let me know what you've done good at, what you haven't, and do something this week to check something off your list. And I'll see you in a couple days with a vlog or a video. Ooh, my Literally Dead book club announcement for the next couple months is coming up next. So I'll see you then. Bye.